Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Martin Scorsese's Silence in 2016. Yes, here we are again with a Scorsese review, and this is the Blu-ray here, and a rewatch tonight, and yes, Silence, his latest narrative feature film. Of course, we've got The Irishman coming out. Quick words on that is I am massively hyped, of course, and yes, just cannot wait for this film, despite, maybe not being of course, it is a Netflix film. I have kind of some views on that with all respect, but I do, despite that, really look forward to the film. Of course, I will certainly be checking this out. As soon as, and for a number of years, the actual meaning to that film. A number of years, not just me, but many clearly have waited for pretty obvious returns, to collaborations, of course, with Scorsese, and I just cannot wait for that film. This is the film. This is his latest at the moment, narrative feature film, and yes, the Blu-ray here, a rewatch today, and yes, this is a film that I did pick up. I think actually yes, as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, and I didn't get around to it until January last year. So yes, for the first time. It was, not a box office success, which is quite a shame, and stuff. And it is a Scorsese film. It's a passion project. This one, we must note. It's been, like some of his films, it had been, in circulation for many, years. Actually, a few decades. This one. So yeah, it's just a very big event for him, and I place that above, my thoughts on the film really when it comes down to this. But yes, I think. Because of all the directors who wait so long to make certain projects, or some never get around to doing it, and and stuff. But I think every artist should be able to make what they want. But Scorsese, of course, more than most. I just really am glad that he made this. What a real great thing that he was able to finally make this film. And you've got Liam Neeson. He's on the front. Is a bit misleading, the poster. He's not. Not the main character or anything, but of course, yes, this will be kind of minor spoilers, but really only relating to that. The fact he's on the front. I'll be mentioning some stuff. It's not really spoilers, so you can stick around if you've not seen the film. I won't be getting into any really specific spoilers at all, but yes, this is a very different film for Scorsese, and I do count him as one of the 10. Absolutely no doubt, no question, 10 greatest filmmakers of all time. Very close, if not in my top 5. He is a genius. I don't love every single film I've seen from him so far, and but I think around 10 masterpieces of the roughly 14 I've seen. So yeah, that says it all. Of course, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. The most people would call them his best. I think. Gangs of New York is my favourite, but all these films, masterpieces, true masterpieces, magnum opuses, these ones that I've mentioned, so many great films, and this one, was very interesting. I was definitely hyped, and of course, it's about these two, set in the 17th century, and, Portuguese priests, two fathers here. You've got Garupe, and you've also got Father Rodriguez, played by Andrew Garfield, and then of course Adam Driver, yes, plays Garupe, and yes, you've got Hinds at the beginning, briefing them. This sets up the film, just after the opening scene of Liam Neeson, another father who, basically their former mentor, and they are tasked to go to Japan and basically, rescue him and find him. Simply, that is the main, initial drive of the film, and then we have, yes, just after 10 minutes, really, then traveling to Japan, see them arriving on the boat, and you've got other characters in the film, including an Inquisitor, but yes, basically, the rest of the film is them finding and also kind of spreading, Christianity. It's a film that kind of explores, question of faith, and a time where it's kind of oppressed and not allowed at all, in Japan in this time. So yes, basically in the film, not just them but other characters are tasked. They're given an option, basically to step on, Christ, stone, tablet, and denounce basically and become apostates, and denounce the faith, or they will be subjected to torture and death, basically. So yeah, it's very dark, and I do praise the fact that Scorsese went all out here with the kind of the graphic nature. It's very realistic in that way. The way he shows the violence, and definitely, it's pretty. I think it's the right choice, and it will obviously. It's not an easy watch or anything. It's not a upbeat film or anything. It's very grueling. But yes, I think I watched the film, and I have mentioned maybe a couple of times on my channel, or hinted at my thoughts on this film. And of course I think thing to note, I do not follow a religion, never have done, with all respect. I don't, but I don't feel, I am very, very spiritual, which is very different. It's different things, related, but very, very different. And I do, definitely do, kind of hold a lot of faith, in general, and hope and everything. But I don't follow a religion. I'm not Christian or anything. So yes, but I do believe any film should be able to be watched by any person, even if they're not religious. If they're not they don't follow or hold religious beliefs, particularly to one specific religion. Of course, pretty straightforward here. And yes, it's something that. But on the other hand, I don't really believe everything I hear in terms of science. I'm very much just open-minded. If I believe in something that I hear or see or experience, I'm very much open. And if I believe in something, I believe in it. I don't have to kind of follow something. I can change my mind. Just open-minded. But yeah, I don't follow a religion. But I am aware of certain things, of course. So it's something that I definitely had enough kind of generally enough knowledge before going in the film. But yes, this film it is this exploration of faith, and it's a very, as I say, very grueling film, and I think it's a great, a great thing. This is a passion project, and all I can give is praise to Scorsese for going ahead of this, and I'm glad. There's a lot of passion in the film. There's no doubt, denying anything involving his commitment to the film and the actors, no doubt. I think everyone involved really they did, of course, put everything into the film. But I will say it now. I have to be honest, and there's not going to be a director, there's not going to be too many directors. There is some directors that I think I love, or at least like all of their films that I've seen up to this point, but not every director. Even Scorsese, where I love or like all of their films, and this just happens to be, for me personally, the one that I do not like, personally. And I think there has been comments about this film. It's not a film you like or dislike, and I just say, I don't agree with that comment. I think, but with all respect, that you have to either like or dislike a film. You have to have an opinion on a film. You have to have an affection for a film. That is the rule of cinema for me, personally. I don't think you can just watch a film and not feel either way, because then what's the point, kind of thing. It's a passion project. I love that fact. I love that he was able to do this, because of course I'm pleased for him that he was obviously satisfied with the film, and it got attention. But I don't like the film personally. With all respect, I don't connect to the film. I don't root for the characters, and I really didn't. I didn't take to this one, and I tried to give it another try for this review, of course, because it'd be hard to kind of review a film I saw a year ago for the first time, and I was kind of drifting in and out a little bit. I wasn't compelled by the film, but I thought, let's just give it a quick review, and rewatch it first. I probably won't be rewatching this film. Maybe, certainly not in its entirety. Maybe in the future. I don't know if I will at all, because I think I've taken enough from it to kind of hold my opinion on the film. But who knows? I'm not saying never say never, but I don't. I think it's just not for me, this film. And it was kind of I was quite surprised by how much I just wasn't compelled by it. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of passion into the film. There's no doubt. There is definitely talent and things. Even I can praise. I don't connect to the main narrative, and I'm not compelled by this piece of cinema really overall. But I do praise some things in the film. I would say that the cinematography, mostly it is to praise. I think at times there's some very, very impressive and commanding shots. I'm not a fan of the palette here, too much at times. I think it's very, very saturated, the use of colours and stuff. But generally, I do think the framing, the actual composition of the shots, and I think that the discipline with just keeping the shots lingering at times, and the definitely the kind of subdued nature of some of the shots, I think definitely effective. And Scorsese he's in command of what he's trying to tell here. There's certainly no doubt. I kind of question that, but I don't agree. Or don't connect to a lot of the choices, even in the cinematography. But overall, definitely to praise. And there's some really good shots here and very effective. Visual moments. I think some of the acting is to praise. Liam Neeson, he's definitely the best for me in the film. And minor spoilers, he does kind of course, he is on the front, as we see here. But he isn't in the film after the 3-minute mark or so, or 4-minute mark, until 2 hours in. And then by that point, I was kind of just, it was too little, too late. I'm a big fan of Andrew Garfield in Hacksaw Ridge. I think he gave a masterful performance, and maybe kind of in some ways, similar character to what he is here. In some regards, of course. But for me, in this film, I don't like the performance personally. I think it's definitely a lot of passion put into the performance, but for me, it just didn't do it. It didn't quite work. But more importantly, I think the character, I just didn't, the writing and everything. I didn't connect to this protagonist. Really, he is our main protagonist, and I found him very unlikable, very inconsistent. Just kind of. I just got very annoyed at times with his choices in the film. Of course, it does deal with kind of questioning, balancing out. You're sticking to your beliefs, but also the fact that during the course of the film, he does get kind of offered, to kind of denounce, his beliefs, and in order to save innocent lives. And just the way it was done, I think, and the way that it was very I just couldn't get behind this character. I think due to as well the actual end result, I think it's just it's quite frustrating for me, and I suppose it's meant to be. It's meant to be a grueling film that doesn't hold back. Certainly doesn't hold back. Scorsese here, it does show a lot of violence and graphic imagery. It's a very torturous film, and it's I know obviously it's meant to be and stuff, but in terms of cinema, I just don't enjoy the film at all, really. And I think I have to enjoy a film. I have to be compelled by it. And it's okay if it's a dark film like this, and it was it was torturous at times. But if I had rooted for the characters, and if I'd actually connected to a lot of the dialogue and been compelled cinematically in terms of the flow of the film as well and stuff, I would have liked the film. But even despite the fact that it is kind of a period piece and everything, I love usually period pieces when they're done well. I just don't connect to this film, and I don't think the dialogue is engaging. It's too much metaphors. I think personally, I just think, to sum it up, I just personally found it heavy-handed, and I didn't because I think Scorsese is a true master of kind of exploring faith in cinema. Mean Streets, Raging Bull, all these films, I think they do already deal with this. Gangs of New York as well, that's my favourite, and that certainly goes, full into this faith and everything. But this film, I just think it goes, it's too heavy-handed at times. The example, the narration, is talking to Christ throughout the film, and I just found it very off-putting. It's too much exposition kind of esque, and but to the point, it's just very distracting. I found, I didn't really feel like he was kind of talking to Christ and stuff. I just kind of, it was very just, I don't think it worked. The narration, I do think the Liam Neeson narration worked, but the rest of it didn't for me. And I think the character's just so inconsistent, so unlikable, and so quite just I don't find really any traits in him that is anything to kind of be compelled by. I found it very flat dramatically. I think I do appreciate the violence in the film. the way it is just showing, in an unflinching way, the brutality of it, and in a way that it is kind of just, it's not kind of gratuitous at all, really. It's very full on, but it is, I do understand it. It's kind of it's meant to be. It's important to show the violence that he shows, but I think, yeah, it just not a compelling film for me, and the lack of music was a real thing that hindered the film as well. I just think, it's of course a big epic film, and it really did drag. I never usually say this, but when there's a film that I'm not compelled by, and you've got just grueling, torturous acts, of course, just going through this experience, of course. I think when it's a big epic film like this, it's just a shame, because I was once again very, very disconnected. I just don't get emotionally connected to the film, on most levels. But there is a few things to praise. I will say that once, at a point in the film, around the 2 hour mark, it does, pick up a little bit, I must say. It certainly, it improves the overall, my investment to the film a little bit, because Liam Neeson, of course, the minor spoilers here, does come back into it. Of course, he's going to return. The main kind of initial drive was about him, his character. They are searching for this character, and while I was never really invested in anything in the film, personally, the thing I was kind of, at least wanting to find out was what happened to this character, and I think it's definitely something I was slightly interested in when he did return. It did, his presence. I think Liam Neeson is the best, actor in this film, involved in the film, and I think he is such a great actor, and he brings something to the film. I certainly, I think it gives a good performance in the film, no doubt. I don't think any of the other ones I connected to the performances, but certainly Liam Neeson I did, so it did pick up a bit, I must say. That's to praise, and I do think the last 40 minutes, or at least when he's in the film at that point, I do think it is better than the rest of the film. Consistently, it does, it does have some things that I was, kind of invested in a little bit, because his character was just, I think his character was good, and I do think the performance, of course, just livened the screen up in general. So yeah, I do think it does pick up, in the generally the final act, of the film. But yeah, I just think, with all respect to everyone's opinions, for those who love it, I think what I say to that is great, I think not everyone will love the film, and I'm just one of the people who don't personally love the film. But of course, I love Scorsese overall. I think he is one of the finest filmmakers, and just because I don't love this, wow, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, Casino, Gangs of New York, of course. These were among my very favourite films. You've got The King of Comedy. I just recently checked that out last year. Another masterpiece. So many films, I think. Age of Innocence, a very good film, I think. It grew on me the second time around, but just personally, this is just a one-off. And I even really like Who's That Knocking My Door. So even his very first, his debut film feature, I do really appreciate. But this is just a one-off, really. It's not like Scorsese films, but it doesn't need to be. It's just the fact that I didn't personally connect to the film. With all respect, I appreciate the project, but as a piece of cinema, I don't engage with it. Emotionally, I don't. It's not a nice view, but even then, it's not compelling. So you've got that. It's not a film that moves me. Not a film that really compels me, and one that just makes me feel very drained, but not in the way that I think it should. But who am I to say? I think my personal opinion of the film is, I don't like it. I appreciate it, the actual project. Of course, much respect, the highest of admiration for Scorsese and all those involved. But just this time, I didn't like the film, and I have to give it a personal rating of a 39%. I don't think this is really for me. It's too full on for me, and I think it's as I say, I'm not religious, but I don't need to be. I certainly feel that this is a film that I could, you know, I am allowed to enjoy, you know, and stuff, and I don't need to be religious. I don't feel to appreciate and everything the film. I'm pretty sure that's straightforward enough for many people to understand. But you know, just for you know, for a number of reasons, I don't like the film, but I do appreciate the project. You know, I think it's great. You know, it didn't do well at the box office, but it did get a lot of attention and praise. So yeah, you know, I have to kind of be happy for Scorsese. How could I not be, because of how much he's changed my life cinematically? You know, so many of my teenage years, especially, you know, just really making me one of the filmmakers who really made me, you know, realize how much I love film. You know, the actual artistic merit behind it, and you know, as an art form, to move me, to inform me, to show me how to kind of use music and just inspire me and make me want to become an actual filmmaker in the long run. You know, this is, I cannot denounce it at that, you know, I think, but this is just an odd one out that I don't, you know, individually for this film, I don't respond to really. There's some things to praise. Cinematography at times, you know, impressive. Some of the acting, Liam Neeson, the Inquisitor, the actor that plays him. But I do think there's a lot of overacting in the film. The scene with Andrew Garfield with the reflection in the water did not work at all for me. That one, it's just overacting, heavy-handed nature. Really, a lot of the film. But certainly, it doesn't really matter that you know, it's just the one film that I don't like, because, as I say, so many of these other ones I hold in the highest regard. You know, some tier S's here for sure, as I've kind of you know, given my channel. But for Silence, you know, I think I recommend this to anyone. Certainly, it's a film that, you know, you could easily love, and certainly I think a lot of people will take something from this. But you know, for me personally, you know, I appreciate fully behind and support the project. But with respect, I don't personally feel it's for me. So yeah, you know, it's not for me. It's nothing that bothers me too much because of how much, you know, I love so many of these films. It just, you know, not everyone. It's not a film for everyone. It's very full on and very different, and yeah, just of course, not everyone's going to love every film. You know, I think it's great that people love the film. I respect, and I'm happy for those who, you know, take something, you know, really something from this film. You know, I think it will affect a lot of people, and yeah, it's just not for me personally. But anyway, of course, thanks for watching the review, and I cannot wait to, you know, review the rest of his films. I thought, who cares if I don't like this one? I have to review it anyway. I can't miss it out. But yeah, just the one that I don't like personally. But respectfully, you know, feel that, of course, I'd recommend it, and just not for me personally. And of course, that will happen to many people with different films. You know, not every film is for everyone. But yes, as always, thanks for watching my review.